Voice aajKal, our medium, your message.
Good day, everyone. My name is Navneet Anand from Voice aajKal, our medium, your message. And today I have got Harish Velji, born in Fiji, studied in US, visited India a number of times, living in Australia for more than 4 decades. Normally, I wonder what does exactly Harish Velji do. I thought, why not I invite him and get to know him more. Mr. Velji, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Navneet. It's absolutely pleasure joining you.
Growing up in Fiji, how does it feel to know your roots in India? Very few have been to the country of their ancestors, which is India that they call off. How does it feel to be back in India?
When you are in Fiji, you realize that your roots are in India. But what it takes you is a little bit more effort in you. Some may be content that hey, my roots are from India, but how do you make that into a journey? Mine was basically as a kid sitting at home. When you are listening, when your father is listening to the news, you have to keep quiet. He's listening to the BBC news because that was the news that we used to get in Fiji. Because of the 12-hour time difference between Fiji and England, like you would hear 7 p.m. the 7 a.m. news.
Mm.
So you had to keep quiet and basically listen and not disturb your father that is listening to the news. There you will hear occasionally about India. So the most of the things that interested me was the cricket. Right, so I will hear the names, Bishan Bedi and the like, and Farooq Engineer, that era, and Nawab Pataudi, but they would mean very little at that time because you won't know how popular it is in India. Then on the weekdays, I used to stay with my maternal grandparents and then come back home on the weekend. So while you are staying with the grandparents, I would see the postage stamps that he is communicating with India.
Okay.
And also in few places in Africa that he's communicating with his relations. So you know that there is a broad-based connection somehow. You hear to the music. Music is basically now I realized that when we were getting it was about 6 months old.
Okay.
After it has been released in India, and even longer for the Indian movies. So the area we were living, we had very little contacts with, except for 4 families. They were mostly people from New Zealand and Australia. So I was inquisitive in that sense that why my grandfather is getting mails from India.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so because I'm only 5, 6, 7, I look at the postage stamps and I see that it looks colorful. It has got various features that I don't see in Fiji. And that's the extent of knowledge that I have. Then occasionally someone will tell me that about the family routines. But the next movement and understanding of India came was that when my father started working for Air India.
Okay.
And he started getting about 4 or 5 different newspapers from India. He used to be a very avid reader of magazines, Life magazine, New Yorker. So he used to have about 20 magazines that used to come out. So I don't read it, but I flick the pages to see the photos. So occasionally you would see photos of India in those magazines. So still meaning nothing, but you look at the architecture. So when my father started working for Air India, we had more connection with people of India who would come to visit Fiji, because in those days, someone from the host country has to write a letter to say that they will be supporting them when they visit Fiji, or sometimes they will get the letter and stop over in Australia because they had no one to ask. So my father would, without knowing those people, he will still write a supporting letter. So occasionally you run into people that who do come and visit you at home. So with the help of newspapers, I learned a little bit more. Then my father made his first trip to India. So when
That was in?
Early 60s.
Okay.
Right. So so when he comes back from India, he takes lots of slide photos. He loved taking slide photos, and he was always an avid photographer, even at that time. So after getting the slides from processing, we would have a film night at home, screening the shots from India. Then father would go through the history, that this is what he did, this is what he saw. One of the things was, I can still remember that he bought a furniture out of a coffee table out of Kashmir,
Okay.
which we still have at home, and we have restored it. So
we're talking about early 60s.
Early 60s. And we know that the movies from India are coming, are picturized in Kashmir. My mother goes to movies, and we have to accompany her because there's no one to look after. Even though you don't like the movies, you just go and sit
You just
there.
have to sit there with mother.
Yeah. So you see the nice scenery, songs made in Kashmir, and you assume the whole India is like that. Then slowly the transformation happens, that after seeing more photos, then you start learning about North, South, Gujarat and other areas. Then you develop more interest. Now, next thing that happened was that after father showing the slides, and this session, we had many sessions at home, and then he started traveling yearly to India. And in 1968, I got an opportunity to go with him. So this opportunity was basically arising because one of my grandfather's brother had to be taken to India. He had not gone back from 1920s. So this was in late 60s. So my father started making a point of taking number of people, old people, to take them back to revisit India. And many of the times, like, he made these special trips not only for close relations, but for other people as well. Right. So, and that meant expense at our expense, because we are paying for our own. No one says that, hey, I'll meet you the cost. Please come with me. So I got an opportunity in 1968 for the first time to drop someone in Gujarat.
You know, when I normally see the Indians who have come from Fiji to settle here in Australia, or the Indian heritage people living in Fiji, they are connected to the culture very much. But when you talk about their connections to country, that is India, like you have, you know, take us through the relationship with India in all respects, like your travels, the objectives.
Okay, so basically, now we have gone to India in 1968 for the first time. And from Fiji, many people who still had the relations in India and were in contact in Fiji. So family members would send electronic products. Those days, electronic products were very rare in India. And so my father winded up dropping things at others' home rather than touring. So by the time we reached 1972, we went together as a family. We clamped it down on that basically that he is not the delivery boy. If we go to India, we need to go and see some things apart from visiting people. So we got an opportunity to go to Delhi and few other places to do sightseeing. And then the scale of places was basically built on myself that image about whole of India. I started getting go to the airlines in Fiji, get pamphlets on India, have a look at the photos, and get that fixation on India. Few of the teams came to Fiji to play sports. Like example, Air India was traveling to Fiji once a week. They would send their table tennis team to play in Fiji. Then they will send their cricket team to play in Fiji, hockey team. So you start as a kid looking at India in a different way because of these interactions. Like I said, father used to bring 5 newspapers, Tamil or Gujarati, but father did.
Okay, so your father could read even Tamil and Gujarati.
Yes, and he spoke Tamil as well, and so that interactions with India became quite frequent. Father would go once a year. You come back, you learn, you get him to talk to you about what he did, what he saw, all that type of things, and that image builds in your mind. Now, I go on my own in 1980s with my wife, and then I decide that we should tour India, just not to visit people. So my wife decided that I need to get an Indian experience, meaning.
And your wife comes from?
Is born in India, but met in USA.
Right.
Okay, so what happens is that she gives me an Indian experience running after the bus, running after the train, sit in the open air, long distance buses. You reach the destination all jolted up, bones shaken, and but still you enjoy the sights. Second trip, we decide that no, we need to scale that down. But first trip, there is a problem in Punjab, so we don't go to the destination Kashmir as my imagination was of the movies. But I realized that whole of India was not like that after 68 visit. But I still wanted to see Kashmir basically as I had seen in the movie. So we reach in 86, 87. Image is totally different to what I had imagined.
We're talking about Kashmir.
No, yeah. And basically Delhi was as I had imagined. So we talk to people, they tell us, oh, don't forget to visit this place or that place, because we have limited knowledge of what to see while you are at that particular city. One of the things we are told is, don't forget to stop over at Vaishno Devi.
Yes.
Okay, so at Katra, so we stop over.
So you've been to Vaishno Devi?
Yeah, multiple times after.
Oh, multiple times after that. Did you climb up all that
Yes.
14, 15 kilometers?
Yeah, no, yes, we did. So, and including have taken my children since then. Okay, so first trip we go to Katra because somebody has told us, and we have never heard of that in our lives. And that journey was quite transforming, climbing that 14 kilometers, walking down and coming back in the night, the lights on the track going off, and you don't feel threatened at all.
100%.
Right, so after that, because of that experience, we have made it a regular habit of going there, but that's a side point. So you start learning things. Then in some 80s or 90s, you come to Australia, you start running into more people from India. Up till that time, you have not heard about caste and all that type of in Fiji, about different religions, Sikhs, Hindus, that various factions within Hindus. So you start when you are in contact with the people from India, you start learning more and more. But you are still not learning much about the sites except where they are living. So we started getting lots of tourist books like Lonely Planet guides, Inside guides. Then you start when they talk to you that I'm from this area. You look at that and start forming a greater pattern than you have visited.
How many times have you visited India?
I've visited 34 times.
34 times. Must have been heaps and heaps and heaps of memories that you have collected.
Yes, I do. And basically, there have been many reasons for trips. One is with the family. My daughter and son has got have fascination for India. They don't like to tour Europe or USA. They don't mind multiple trips to India.
So, what is the best memory that you cherish forever of India?
Sites Hampi.
Okay.
Hampi is basically, I've read quite a few things on Hampi, and there is a sentence in one of the books that was published in 1905, and this book is still used for architectural students, and it has just been updated only a few years back by William Dalrymple. So there is a few sentences there that talks about Hampi, and which describes it more beautiful than Europe. Roads wider than Europe. The shopping shops and malls bigger than in Europe. So this description comes out of libraries in Portugal, Spain. And this guy the author has written down that. Then that transfixes on me, and I need to go and see whether that book is right or not. And we run into our guide in Hampi, who had worked with one of the authors out of Melbourne.
Okay.
And that guy from the university has done substantial work on Hampi. And he has written a few books on Hampis. And
so, which is the closest metro city to Hampi?
Bangalore.
Bangalore.
About 400 kilometers.
400 kilometers.
That's a major one. But nowadays you can go to Hubli with a number of flights and go to Hampi from there, Badami, Hampi. Or there is substantial in between sites between Hampi and Badami anyway, where you can do about 4 or 5 days tour.
1968 to 2025. What difference do you see in India and Indians living in India?
How I describe the difference to someone is Bangalore-Mysore route.
Mm-hmm.
The reason because many people don't talk about the development that has happened in the last 10 years. So when we were going through the first time around, as a family, we used to calculate as 35 or 40 kilometers per hour journey. And this is all you will manage in a day. Most you may manage is one city to another. That's it, unless you stop over for sightseeing in between. The first time that we went to Mysore and Bangalore, it was a whole day journey. 1986 or 87. Next time we went, it shrunk by a few hours. Come 2000s, it shrunk by about 4 or 5 hours. The last trip that we did post-COVID, that time the new freeway was just coming up, but it had not opened officially, but they were allowing the vehicles to go. That journey from point to point, meaning without going into the internal
bypassing the cities.
Yeah, and also we see Bangalore is a very congested city. So to reach Bangalore externally and from Mysore externally, only 2.5 hours. That had shrunk from about 10 hours.
From 10 hours to 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Of course, you add one more or 1.5 hours to within internal, but that's a different matter.
You've been to Amritsar?
I've been to Amritsar multiple times.
How was the experience at Golden Temple?
I really loved to go. First time we went was basically it was very foggy.
Oh, the weather could have been.
Yeah. The second time was also foggy, but then I changed my plan that to go not in December period, December January period. So I went there during September October. It was really good. I also went in with my family in September October. I think last year or year before. That was a much better time to travel. It's humid. I I do accept as a practicing Hindu that there are different religions, that path is the same. There is one God. Where you go and worship doesn't matter. So the one that I really loved it was my first trip. I can't recall, I think 2010s, early 2010s. So I stayed back till about 1 o'clock in the morning
In the
in the temple.
Darbar Sahib.
Time basically no one kicked me out. They let me experience it after the books. The Guru Granth was carried away for, as they said, that for sleep.
That's right.
Okay, so
So Guru Granth Sahib is taken right from the main hall
yeah.
to the place where they put it to sleep. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so they were cleaning the place, and how they clean with milk and so many volunteers trying to keep it ready for the next morning. So that was my best experience because I could move on my own without interference or without a crowd pushing you, and to see it and experience it was really
And that unconditional service from the volunteers.
yeah, right, and basically giving you access to the area while there is no one there. That was truly magical. Of course, you were not allowed to photo, but that was a different thing. But it is imprinted in my head, in my mind, the picture of that.
Let me explore the three countries which you are connected with: Fiji, India, and Australia. So, how do you see Fiji's growth in the years to come?
I have been to Fiji only once since I have left. There is various reasons for that. Because of the coups that have happened number of times, and when I speak to people, I can see that while there are some improvements, but there are other side that many of the Indian feels insecure
In Fiji.
in Fiji. I was just reading only a few days back that the production of sugar is down. The land is not being renewed, and most of the farmers are Indians. And the short term of the lease makes it very difficult for them to recover the cost, because they are not big scale farms as in Australia. They are few acres only. In Australia, you can have 100,000 or 1 million square acres. But in Fiji, you have to recover from a very small area. And that has become hard. The crime rate has soared. The government claims to have basically starting to repay debts that the previous government incurred. Lots of road infrastructure has happened. Lots of private investment has happened. But my worry still remains. What was, when I left there, the plight of the Indians in Fiji. That they are always the victims of the coups. Under the previous government, the best thing that is, from my personal point of view, was that there was no division between Indians and other races. And
the Banivarama government that you
yes,
say.
I'm not talking about what he did as a government in terms of infrastructure, hospital, etc. Because, like I said, I have been only once. But what I really appreciated was that we were all called Fijians. In Australia, we are called all Fijians. In India, we should be all Indians. While we still talk about North, South, and I'm a Gujarati, but my take is that that was the biggest thing that happened for Fiji Indians, and recognition in the that they came and did lots. Indians came in Girmit and did lots of things for Fiji, having in celebration day for arrival of Indians. So in Fiji there is also a problem that it's a small country, population isn't large. How do you do mass manufacturing? It cannot be done. You have to do. You have to find a way of doing small manufacturing that can be exported. Fiji exports lots of vegetables and other things, but that is not going to boost up economy in that large numbers or create job growth. Job growth remains pretty weak. Many of the people still live upon the government as a civil servant. That may be the highest employer. So my worry about Fiji is that because it's a small country, you need to be able to have job creation that is able to keep up with the increasingly very high level of education in Fiji. Yeah, the primary school when I left, it was already 80-90% level, and I know that high school would have been very high as well, but I have no figures. But since then, there have been universities come up, the number of universities. Then people are going overseas for studies. India is giving quite a few scholarships on various fields. How do we get them to work within their field is an issue, because many people come there after qualifications, they find challenging and leave to practice their own field. And that's how many of my family members left Fiji. And I left because of the coup, but Paul had left prior to that because they found it easier to practice their occupation here.
Your involvement with the local politics. Did you have an interest in this back in Fiji, or you developed it after coming to Australia?
Okay, so basically, I had interest in Fiji because the leader of opposition was living about 2 houses away.
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid, I could see the activity at his house, people going to his house, people meeting, father going there every day. Father knew him when he was not even MP. So he used to help him connect with his children in sending things in England when they were studies. So we were close to him. And so we used to get all the newspapers, local papers. So when you are reading that, first you read the sports, then you flick the pages, and occasionally you run into politics. So you start forming an opinion. Because you are listening to the BBC News, you are listening to what is happening around the world. So two or three things that come to my mind in terms of politics. One is Muhammad Ali, the boxer,
Mm-hmm.
who fought against going to Vietnam and becomes a symbol of peace. The other one is, at that time, Nelson Mandela was still in jail. In Fiji, we looked upon Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, and Sardar Vallabh, and few others. So you start learning more and more about importance of getting involved in politics. Then I went to study in New Zealand. That time Labour Party was in power, and within 1 year, when they lost the election, Australian counterpart of Liberal Party came to power in New Zealand, called National Party. And the first thing they did was clamp down on migration. That was one of the most vicious election campaigns brought, the techniques brought from USA, showing that colored people beating up white people. to create a hysteria on crime, and I can recall the minister announcing and saying that if you speak different and you look different, you need to carry passport on the road. And this minister was born in Australia. You start living in fear that what happens if police comes and stops you and asks for the passport, and you are only in school, high school at that stage. So then you start looking that, hey, this is not right. In Fiji, up till that time, we looked upon as substantially as a multicultural country. So you have come from a multicultural country where you are not holding that type of racism, religious position, that extreme positions. You are intermingling with others, you are eating with others, you are sharing the house with them. There is no negative feeling towards other people, religions, etc. So that was my first experience, that hey, we need to do a lot more to understand the politics, what is happening.
Do you think racism still exists in Australia?
To some extent, yes, it does. You hear it every day. Australia, I classify as one of the successful multicultural countries in the world, and that is always at a threat. If extremism comes in, you can see Pauline Hanson policy on white. We can see Clive Palmer. Every time he gets involved, the extremism of his party increases, the street reactions. I can recall when in early 1990s or mid 1990s, when America invaded Iraq, not Iran. I was stopped on the road telling me to go back to your country.
Telling you to go back to your country, that means they were thinking you to be from Iraq.
Yes, so basically I'm working with my son. My son is just learning how to walk, so he is holding my hand and then decides to do a runner, and I'm letting him run on the footpath because it's a very quiet area. You can hear a car come, and he's not going to go on the road, and it's not that super speed. So there is a car who comes past me. He turns around and tells me, remember, we two are not the same. So it does exist.
Even now?
I do believe at low levels now. It's not at that level that we
used to be.
When I talk to my son and daughter who have been brought up at Gosford, they don't feel any different substantially. They do feel different that, hey, when they come to Sydney, go to an Indian concert or Indian restaurant, they feel that, oh, yes, this is where I belong. But they don't feel it on a day-to-day basis at home or on the streets. And they can tolerate jokes here, there, on race and religion, but they know that there's a difference between joke and a seriousness. So I also know when it is meant as an insult and as a joke, and you can put your two bob worth as well to it. So yes, it can exist. I can see it existing at various locations, especially when they apply for place of worship, for application for DA, and then usually you find objections or the traffic will be a problem. First it used to be about the site, about the heritage. Now it has gone to
so this is the DA application for the religious places to be approved
yes.
by council.
Yes, so I do find that one of the grounds of objection is always the transport, the parking spaces and all that. normally the neighbors do. And plus, also, I must say, on the other side, our own people basically block the driveway of other people, which is not on. So there are two sides of the story here. So we need to be
More careful and considerate to the locals.
as well, and also the other side that hey, we will assemble from time to time. We, while many Hindus, as you will know, that they pray at home, but for occasions they need to go at the temple, and they love assembling as a group. So that I have a gut feeling that will come to realization, because the way schools talk about other religions, other festivals, so it will take a generation or so from both sides. It will make a difference. Yeah, and I can see differences already happening. From, like I said, when I was told that we are not the same. Yeah.
No, talking about the politics.
Yeah.
A lot of people do have interest in it, but they try to maintain the safe distance discussing it in public. Do you think everyone should be involved in politics openly?
It's based on individual. So basically, how I got involved, I realized the area that I'm living in needed some changes. So I wrote few letters to the editor and the papers. I realized that we don't have a high school. Many of the roads that we would take children to school did not have footpath, light, or crossings. Simple things like that. So I started channeling that in the newspaper, writing letters to the editor regularly, and occasionally I would see a change. Right, so another 5 people back you up by writing, and that changed. So one day I took my daughter for a cricket match, or it could be my son. No, I think it was my son. So this game was about 100 kilometers away.
Okay.
So in Central Coast where I live, we have to travel quite a distance for games. The opposing team parent asked one of our group, who represents you for all this type of issues. They thought about it, and they pointed to me that, hey, this guy gets the things done. So it was.
And here we are talking about the normal locals playing the games and discussing the issues.
Yes, that's correct.
It's a mainstream public.
Mainstream public, and I'm the only colored person who lives in that suburb. And basically, I realized at that time that, hey, if you are doing things, bulk of the people will recognize for what you do. Right. So basically, I ran into friends. Through my father. Father is always good at making friends. He's 95 now, but now he is immobile. But he had that art of making friends. He used to start. He came to Australia from 1950s. Came and met. So through his friendship, I met other people. So because I had started campaigning for a school and some improvements, and also at that time there were a number of deaths in the hospital in a mental health unit, and I decided to get active in that. And also one of my friends suggested to me that he had keen interest in that topic. Why don't I organize a meeting in Gosford about mental issues relating to mental health? And while I was doing that, I realized the legislation needed changing because the family members had no say. At that time, Bob Carr was the premier. So one of the Labour members suggested to me to join the Labour Party because I am a community activist in many of the fields, and that may help me to get changes done a lot faster. That realization came after I joined the political movement. Idea is not to impose your views on individuals. They are going to do what they think is right for them. You may be able to change here, there, but bulk of the people will do things what is suitable for them. You have to accept that, but don't forget in that mind that when you are doing things, don't do for yourself only if you are in a position to do, but go for greater goals. One of the examples I will give, which is going back to a few years back. That time, Australia under Labour Party had a policy of not exporting uranium. So Labour Party has got a strong policy on various fields in relation to uranium, and I respect that. So basically, I thought that there was a change needed, that we do sell uranium to India because of the power shortage there, and that was going to be a way of solving power issues. Having visited there are power outages here, there, and that is one of the simpler ways. Even though it takes 20-30 years for construction, idea is that it's better to solve it in that long time, unlike here what the government opposition is talking about. So it's horses for the causes. So I've, through the branch, through activism, I've pushed for the changes of the sale of uranium to India, hoping that it will be helpful in India for electricity. The Labour Party changed its policy through Gillard, and one shipment went, and after that it hasn't gone. But that's another issue. But there was a policy change. There was a policy change in mental health. It's still not to my liking, but that was a good outcome. So you are able to influence, but you need to be mindful that you are not trying to influence for your personal gain. How I look at it is that it must, if you are able to take benefit to another cohorts of people, you have achieved something. So I've always had that in mind, that it's not about you, what you are going to be, whether you will be an MP or a councillor, or how you can make changes that help other people. That should be the prime motive, but each individual is for the individual. Some may want to become a councillor, MP. It's up to them. They may want to assert changes through that way, whereas I find myself more effectively being activist and a stirrer.
No, we were just talking about mental health issues. We're talking about organizations, the charitable organizations or NGOs. I see you've been involved with many of them.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about it.
I'm involved with about 35 of them. I'm not a member of one of them. There's a deliberate reason. So that once you become a member of one of them, you become involved in their internal politics. So it becomes very difficult to get away from it. So what I have done is that wherever there is a need, go and assist. And once you have done your task, just move away and don't get involved in internal politics. I was part of a charity, 3-man charity, which we did in Central Coast. It was called Convoy for the Kids. It raised charity for the children who were in Central Coast, but it was used for many different things, like children who go to Westmead Children's Hospital for surgery, so that we assisted so that parents could go and stay in the hospital. So many activities but had to be related to children from Central Coast. We used to get a crowd of about 15,000 people for the events, and it was based on coin donation. And many people used to tell us that for us, we can't afford Easter show in Sydney. This is the Easter show for us. Every year we said we won't do it, but that's parents, when they tell us that this is the Easter show because this is what we can afford, not the Sydney one, kept you going. We did that for 10 years.
Okay.
And we eventually wounded up because it was getting difficult, lack of volunteers. Like I said, 3 started it and 3 ended it. But it was important to end it because we realized that it had grown so big, we couldn't do it. To get 15,000 people and it's based on a donation. And 3 of us are basically doing everything. There's not a single administrative fee. Someone will say that I will donate a carton of barbecue sauce. So you drive 100 kilometers at your expense to get that just 1 carton of sauce, so that there is no expenditure. Was getting harder. We were very accountable that every financial documents was countersigned, authorized by chartered accountants and submitted so that it was always transparent. That was very important. So accountability and delivery was very important. And my say to the community groups, usually when they ask me, okay, on how to form groups, what to do, one of the first things I say is don't forget to register and every year have a financial report. So there is no finger pointing. That's how I would conclude it.
For me, before I conclude this conversation, in a nutshell, can you describe who is Harish Velji?
Harish Velji is in his 60s, still going strong, trying to secure things for the community. Our population has got very large and still many things to do. And he will continue going, trying to see as much as what he can do for the people and for the love of the people.
Thank you so much. This was Harish Velji, who traveled to India for the first time in 1968 and still going and would keep on going till his last breath. Mr. Velji, thank you so much for visiting the Voice aajKal. Our medium, your message. Bye for now.
Thank you.
G'day, I'm Jason Clare, the Minister for Education for Australia, and it's great to be part of this tribute to my friend Harish Velji. Harish is a great Australian and he is an extraordinary ambassador for our country. The work that he has done to bring our country Australia and India together is extraordinary. I've been the beneficiary of that myself. He has helped me to better understand the people of India and the opportunities for both of our countries to work more closely together. So to you, Harish, thank you for everything that you do for Australia, for India, and for both of our countries.
My name's Andrew Charlton. I'm the Federal Member for Parramatta. Harish Velji is my friend and someone who I admire very greatly. He's able to translate between people, between cultures, and between nations. And everybody he connects, he builds their relationship in a way that is authentic, warm, genuine, and makes our communities stronger and our nation better.
I've known Harish for many, many years. It's hard to find anyone who can open so many doors to different communities all around Sydney. And at every moment, his heart is always making sure that we're reaching out and delivering justice to people and helping people on their way through. He's a first-rate Australian and we're very lucky to have him as such a supporter of Labor.
So Harish is a very good friend of Australia-India relationship. He has tremendous understanding of both India as well as Australia. And he has also the inclination and the energy to connect people from both sides. His easy mannerism and his depth of understanding is a real asset for the relationship. And that's why he is such a good friend of both the countries and the ties between the two people.
Hello, my name is Analak Chanthavong and I'm a New South Wales Cabinet Minister. Harish has been a long-term and strong advocate to create better relations between Australians and Australian Indians of Indian descent and also India in general. His work is so well respected and well admired, and it's created great valuable friendships and great opportunities between our two nations. When we think of great community advocates, when we think of people who really want to make a difference between Australians and India, and particularly using the strength of our Indian diaspora here, we always think of Harish. Harish, thank you for all the work that you do. You're a community champion, you're a strong voice, and you play such an important part into creating a better community both here and in India, and the relationship we have together.
VT Times. Be with the times.